And we are live.
And we are alive.
Let's rock. Let's rock. Let's rock.
I want to see how long I could go with that one. I probably
You know
could
what?
have gone longer.
Everybody raise your glass. Raise one for the birthday boy. For the birthday boy, Mr. Sean Murphy.
I appreciate it, man. Appreciate you, my brother. What up, doe people that are rolling in? Welcome to Woodward Pistons Table Talk. I am one of your hosts, Sean Murphy, alongside the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Credentialed, Mr. Real Deal, Mr. Wild Style, the man, the myth, the legend, Kool-Aid.
Hey, let's rock. AKA Prison Mike, man. Hey, look, I got on the Dunder Mifflin.
Dude, when that podcast drops, I am telling y'all, Kool-Aid and I did a podcast today that I am in the process of getting ready to upload right now. We were on some weird energy today. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. It was a great time. We got off script several times, and those are our best podcasts.
I love it. I had so much fun, bro. Every time we do content, it's great. And I can't wait. Like Sean and I were talking today about getting this Kool-Aid and Murph content off the ground. I'm ready for it, man. I definitely, especially since we got people like Jalen and Steve also here on the content to hold things down like the table talk. It'll allow people like Sean and I to kind of get into our crazier side because we promised you guys a lot. I'm telling you, we got the skits on the way. We have to. We got some stuff on the way, man. We got to.
It's gonna be great. Also,
ready, so.
Got to give a shout out and rep my boy Nikola getting to the NBA Finals. I love this shirt so much. It's so great. I just had to show off the shirt. That's all I had there. There was no agenda
and you know what?
The shirt.
He got that Detroit connection too, man. His brothers went to like University of Detroit Mercy, and one of them played for UDM. He used to come out to some of the games. Yep. I made that graphic a long time ago on Woodward Sports, like within like the first couple of months.
Huh.
Yep.
Man.
University of Detroit Mercy, man. Got that Nikola Jokic connection.
You know what no one's talking about with the finals? If the Heat get there, it's going to be Nikola Jokic versus Nikola Jovic. There's a guy in the Heat that was drafted this year named Nikola Jovic. It's literally the same spelling except a V instead of a K in the middle of the last name. So we get Jokic versus Jovic. Loser has to legally change their name. The entire family has to change and forfeit the name in their entire family's sake. Sean just turned 21. Drinks on me.
Shout out Money Train James.
Hey, Money Train James. Appreciate you being here as always, man. Alan, you know we live, mother. Come on now.
Hey, always got to shout out Pepega Jones.
What day is it? Come on
he's
now.
on Twitter now.
Welcome. Dude, Pepega Jones is a freaking OG, man. Always coming in and supporting. Always dropping in super chats whenever it's never asked for, and we're just grateful for you, man. But this is Woodward Pistons Table Talk. In each and every week, we break down all things Detroit Pistons. If you like that, be sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so you're not missing any of the latest and greatest content here on Woodward Pistons. But also, be sure you're going to woodwardsports.com, checking out the work that my guy is putting on there for the Pistons beat. Follow him on Twitter at Detroit Kool-Aid. And if you're feeling generous, follow myself at Sean Half Court and go subscribe to From Half Court.
Say it. Welcome back to the Table Talk, brother.
It's been a minute, but I'm here.
Oh, man.
It's a genuine joy when I'm just rushing to the freaking soundboard, stumbling over buttons.
Appreciate it.
Man, it's good to see you, Steve, man. As always, the content slaps, bro. It's awesome.
I appreciate it. So trying to bring in more draft guests, more people that just talk about the draft. If you haven't listened to the latest episode with Jam Hines, Jam's an awesome dude. Like I say in the episode, we want to have few guests who have the extensive resume and knowledge base that Jam does. He's scouted for a bunch of different people, worked under coaches like Tony Bennett at Virginia. From Virginia, got his master's at Duquesne, like just does a fantastic job breaking down all the off-season events, and also gives his pick for the Pistons at number 5, which I quite liked. So go check out that episode.
Won't spoil it.
Fair enough.
Won't
I've
spoil
been
it.
refreshing my inbox, Steve. My invite still hasn't come in yet. That's weird.
Passive aggressiveness will not be tolerated.
Look, son,
It wasn't passive aggression. It was a joke.
I got a hound Steve too, man. He's a popular man now. He's a hot name.
Yeah, I mean, he's
it's
practically
beautiful.
taken over the channel already. Like, he's done a few episodes and he's already Mr. Worldwide over here.
Well, I mean, Joe is on the phone trying to make that happen, but I guess he can't.
Joe's trying to order.
Joe is now his
season.
manager.
Joe's trying to order an entire season on Fox Sports Detroit, but we need to tell him that network's debunked 4 years ago. Oh my gosh.
Oh shoot. Man, dog, I love this. I love the table talk. I love getting together with you guys, man. Honestly, some of the best, not just content creation, but Pistons coverage, like basketball coverage. I like talking basketball with you all. I like our chats. Like I love the people in the chats. I love the regulars. I love even the new people we get in. It's been really, really, really cool chats, man.
The thing I love about Table Talk is 1 second we're having this deep analytical debate going deep into the roots, into like the weeds in basketball. And then the next second we're just on the dumbest possible on a completely different tangent. And am I the one that gets us there most times? Absolutely. Am I remorseful? Not one damn bit. Anyway, boys, let's get started.
Let's go, man. Let's rock. Let's rock.
Sean said HBO. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, let's dive right into it. Kool-Aid, what's on the agenda for today's Table Talk?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm gonna take you guys through it real quick and then let Sean kind of MC this thing. We have the coaching search updates for you guys. Also, I want to talk to you all about the trade, or if you keep this 5th pick of the Pistons. Terry Foster has some interesting things to say this week. Definitely check that out on the channel, the latest What We're Pistons podcast. Rod Beard, he couldn't make it this week, and he will let you know what's up on the next one. But Terry Foster has some interesting things to say we're going to discuss too, what'd you say?
The Rod Father.
Yeah, the Rod Father. And just how good can Jalen Duren be? ... by next season. I think he's the Piston that can actually take the biggest leap out of kind of this nucleus, but I want to talk about it with you guys.
Not to spoil all the conversation late, but real quick, have you guys seen the video of him doing the between the legs standing dunk 3 times in a row?
Can you prep that?
Oh yeah,
At
absolutely.
Yeah, for the end of the when we get there, definitely get that pulled up.
Oh, I can prep it all right. Don't you worry. That can happen.
Let's rock, bro. Let's rock.
Guys,
let's get into this, coach.
Yeah, let's get right into it. April 7th, 2023. Dwayne Casey announced that he was stepping into the Pistons front office and stepping down from the coaching seat. May 25th, the year of our Lord 2023. The Pistons still do not have a coach named as of today. As of the latest reports, according to Shams, according to Woj, it seems that the Pistons are down to 2 final candidates in Charles Lee and Kevin Ali. According to Mark Stein, the Pistons reportedly made a big money offer to Monty Williams earlier this week, but instead he opted to sit out this season. One thing I will note is that at the very beginning when Monty Williams was let go from the Suns, early reports suggested that his main priority was being with his family and that he was very worn down. So the thought that he turned a coaching job down this offseason, I mean, he practically had the selection to any position he wanted, and he decided not to do it. And Bryce, shout out to you, my guy. Got to get you back on the pod soon. It's been too long. I miss talking basketball with Bryce Simon.
What up, Bryce?
We started the I think Bryce was the first individual we included in our content as well.
Yeah, man.
The fast breaks.
Yeah, man.
It was awesome content.
Yeah, he was also the first guest on the draft show. We love Bryce.
Just the nicest guy, man. 100%. But anyway, there's a lot of, I think with conjunction of, the kind of the despair of the lottery, and with the fact that the Pistons didn't necessarily get quote unquote their guy, I still think overall they're still in a good spot when it comes to the coaching search. And I'm personally not worried. I want to get the temperature check. First of all, Jalen, welcome to the show, my guy. Good to see you. Horizontally, we get the full image, man. I get to see
me.
Yeah, man. It's good to man, it's good to see you.
Oh man, bro. Welcome to the show as always. Hey, you know what? Before we kind of get into the coaching search and all of that, Sean, hold that question. Jalen, tell the people about your new content.
Oh, so I'm doing a YouTube series called CEO's Office. It was a podcast, but I didn't want to talk that long. So for now, it's going to be a series, sports, music, entrepreneurship, things of that nature, local stuff. And then I'll do some, mainstream stuff as well. But I'm 2 episodes in. The second episode is about 10 minutes long. The views are way better than the first one. So I'm moving on up with it. So yeah, make sure you guys check that out. I had a 3rd episode out probably early next week after the holiday.
Dope. Hey, and Jalen's been on the grind, pretty much doing everything. So you're still covering high school sports, still out there doing all of the photography, man. He took some fabulous pictures, man. I felt like I look like a superstar, man, from the draft lottery show. And I can't wait for the draft party as well. You know what I mean? We're gonna have everybody together, have everything figured out. Everybody will be together. It's gonna be fun. But hey, bro, stay on the grind, stay on the hustle. We got a lot in store. And Sean and I, we got some content too.
Can you give the name of your show on YouTube again? There's some people asking in the comments.
It's CEO's Office is going to be under my handle. So just type in Jalen HTV, and then it'll have all the info on there for you guys and everything. Thanks, Steve.
Dope.
Absolutely.
Dope.
Guys, let's dive right into it. A lot of people are feeling this sentiment.
Yeah.
However, I think I feel like it's kind of day 247 of convincing people why the sky isn't falling. You know what I mean? But in all seriousness, obviously, when you hear the reports that you don't get the guy that you want, it's always a bummer. But at the same time, at the very least, you have to give the respect that, there isn't a salary cap on the coaching position. And if the report is indeed true that they went and made a big money offer, Tom Gores went and made a big swing. And even though that swing, didn't, ultimately succeed, even though, Monty Williams didn't accept, they still have a pool of candidates that they've been vetting for about a month and a half now that they have a lot of information on. So I think, it's not like we're in a situation where we don't have a backup plan. Right.
Yep. And look, I've said it before. I said it on the Morning Woodward, said it on the Woodward podcast, said it on From Half Court. Now I'm gonna say here on the Table Talk, I would have been disappointed if the Pistons missed out on that first, overall pick and just said, oh, whatever. You know what I mean? Because the first reports were that, the Pistons would have went all in if they got the first overall pick. It's like that's kind of loser organization thinking.
They went all in regardless.
They went all in regardless, and I wanted them to see that. And Monty didn't say, skip your offers, skip your young players, skip your city. Monty has actually talked very, very good about this kind of young nucleus that the Pistons have. This was more or less about taking time off to get his head right, man. I think people underestimate what it's like to be a coach of the type of class and character he is, and to have to manage a situation that we've seen grow out of control like DeAndre Ayton, but to still kind of keep that roster together and kicking and things of that nature. Yeah, who knows all the little things that were kind of going on behind the scenes. and whatnot. And I think that sometimes that can just suck the life out of you. And then you were fired because of it. Like, come on, man.
And people forget too.
I don't know.
And people forget too that when Monty took the job in Phoenix, it was in a very similar position that the Pistons are in right now. And so the thought of hopping right off the wagon and starting right back from square one, like all over again, like 3 months after losing your job in a very after a very brutal playoff loss, I think especially, and I think people also forgot, I believe he also lost his wife a couple years ago too, right in the middle of their playoff run. So like when you think about like the personal side of things, and when you go to like those deeper things, it's like at the end of the day, man, like Monty just needs to sit out a season from what it sounds like. And even Mike Budenholzer is sitting out for what it sounds like. And there's there's 3 elite jobs on the market.
So, and you know what? Maybe it was stupendously savvy then of Troy Weaver to kind of preempt this thing and say, you know what? We know that we can always talk to whoever gets let go in the playoffs, but you know what? We're going to make sure that these assistants here, these people here that we've identified also as viable candidates, that we're going to butter them up as well. Because what if we didn't? You know what I'm saying? Like, what if we just kind of, thought, hey, we could throw our money at one of these guys? Because a lot of the fans are like, why aren't we going after anybody with NBA experience? These dudes don't want to coach no more. What if Troy was one of those types of GMs? You know what I'm saying? Instead, he has this position to at least, well, from the sounds of it, get one of these kind of other candidates. I know a lot of people are not necessarily the biggest on Kevin Ollie. I think that there's some good things to like about him. Terry Foster had a lot of good things to say about him. But obviously, Jaron Collins, we're not really hearing his name. I liked him. Sean, I know how you felt about him. Charles Lee, to me, kind of represents a mixture of the two. If you're looking at all 3 of the candidates, to me, when you hear what they say about Kevin Ollie in terms of being able to connect with the younger players, in terms of being able to motivate, as well as the player development, well, these are same things that are also attached to Charles Lee. And he has this notion that he's able to work with star players as well, like Middleton and Giannis. Then you have this notion where he's also able to kind of get this aspect of player development going. He also has a college resume that is pretty impressive, too. And so it's like Charles Lee is pretty impressive. If it's coming down to these guys, I'm not against a Kevin Ollie, but Sean, I'm gonna kind of get your idea on it as well, and then kind of get around the panel.
First of all, what up though, Carl? Hey. Good to see you, my beautiful boy.
What up, though?
What up, though? Good to see you, my guy.
I got 30 minutes. I figured I'd come on for 30 minutes and.
Well, dude, thank you for doing that, man.
Yeah, man.
Back to the Kevin Ollie thing. I think a lot of people are hyper focused on his college career and on the fact that he was previously with Overtime Elite, and I think just focusing on the fact that there's more of an unknown as far as him as a candidate goes. But I think it's important to remember he also has plenty of experience as an NBA player. Kevin Durant, James Harden, Russell Westbrook all credit him for shaping the culture and the foundation in Oklahoma City before they went and made that run as well. And when you listen to him speak, he has a way with words. He's a guy that is called to mentor, like young players and help develop young players. And, these are guys that they all said were foundational, in the beginning of their career. So, I think, like both of these guys have legitimate claims. I think, technically, like even though you look at Charles Lee and you see 8 or 9 years, under Mike Budenholzer's staff, it's kind of a little tricky to see like what exactly the impact is. I know in Milwaukee, he worked specifically with Grayson Allen. I know he worked with Chris Middleton, but again, it's kind of hard to see what that progress is. At least with Kevin Ollie, there are stars, there are people who have said, yeah, that guy made an impact on me. So I'm just saying, like, it's not as I think people think that Kevin Ollie doesn't know what basketball is. And I think he deserves a little more respect than he's being given.
I agree with that. Steve, man, how you feeling about this?
I'm going to probably unload for a little while, so you probably want to go to somebody else and save me for that. Carl's going to be here for 30 minutes.
I'm here for it. So I think I'll say this. of all the people who are being considered right now, none of them have a whole lot of head coaching experience. I do understand and kind of agree with the concern about Kevin Ollie, specifically the fact that he hasn't really had any NBA experience, and the experience he's had recently is arguably, I guess, it's the competition level, and that's the same reason for my hesitation of drafting the Twins. But yeah, I'm not really all that thrilled about the options, especially given the fact that Monty Williams declined, which says a lot, maybe about the fact that no one's really interested in coaching the team, which is concerning. I know it's not exactly, it hasn't been confirmed that that's the case, but it's still it's kind of crossed my mind quite a bit.
His wife died 2 years ago. He just got fired from his job a week ago. He had to pick up the litter of any of the jobs he wanted. I think the reality of it is he just wanted a year off. I don't think it has anything to do with our job, to be honest.
So if he gets a job somewhere else, or if he takes a job somewhere else, I guess that would be the more concerning. That's kind of where the concern comes in. But at this point, I mean, it is what it is. There's really nothing we can really do except sit back and wait, see who takes the job, or who Troy wants to have coach the team, and go forward with that. But
a report, Monty Williams likely to take 2023-2024 season off.
Is that brand new? Is that today?
It's as of a day ago.
Okay.
So yeah, like I said, when their first reports came out when Monty got fired, they talked about how he would be a candidate, but the tone was he just wanted to go see his family. He just wanted to go home. And so, I think with Monty, as you unpeel the situation a little bit more, again, I get the concern, and I get that, I get it hasn't been a great couple of weeks for the Pistons, but I don't think Monty Williams looked at our situation and that was why he said no.
Yeah, I feel like with that, there are hierarchies here. These older coaches, they have a decision to make. You know what I mean? Dwayne Casey had a decision to make as well, and he kind of took the back end of his coaching career and was like, well, a title was not going to be it for me. He came to Detroit and kind of knew what the deal was going to be. With Monte, with Monty Williams, the early reports were that he was looking at potentially taking a year off before coaching. And for me, I think it's good, that the reports at the Pistons offered something, because that means that he listened. This wasn't a situation where it was just, oh, the Pistons have interest. It's a situation where he showed them some respect to the organization as well. And I've liked the way he's talked in the past about the organization. I don't know. I've appreciated him. I wish there was a chance to get one of these guys, but I always felt like someone like him or even Bud would want to try to win a championship, and that's not necessarily really an indictment on Detroit right now. It's not like saying that Detroit is not going to get there. It's just the windows aren't there right now. And that was my initial worry, is that these coaches that are coming up, because I didn't expect these playoff teams to just start firing their head coaches. I had no idea that was on. That's really what's going to mess up the market for Detroit. At some point in time, it was like I thought Detroit was going to have their pick, that they could actually go and try and lure a coach away. But now it's looking like, you got all of the top teams looking for coaches. Now you got the middling teams looking for coaches. And now you got all of the lottery teams looking for coaches. It's just like, sheesh. I think that there's going to be even greater shuffle after the finals. As we get into draft season, I think we might see a couple more coaches that are now like kind of let
the
go.
Celtics position might become open in the next week.
Those reports are wild. That's what I'm talking about. It's like, this is a crazy time. And I saw somebody else, I forgot who it was, somebody with some clout, with some credibility, were like, yo, the coaching season is going to get crazy. So it's just like, I think it's a little bit more of people don't really want to push a button yet, because I don't even think people know what the landscape of the NBA is going to be in the next year or two. Free agencies are weird. These drafts are weird. Coaches are just getting fired. Coaches are taking years off. Even LeBron came out and said he might just take a year off or some report like that. It's just, I don't know, man.
Well, even beyond free agency, there's the unpredictability of players can just demand trades at this point, and there's the player mobility and power movement as well. So it's just, there's over the next couple summers, I think you're just going to see a lot of movement and mobility. And, I just, at the very least, it sounds like the Pistons essentially have the corner on all of the young, on their favorite prominent young candidates.
What's up, MTJ? You don't believe the reports? I don't believe the reports either. That boy gonna retire just so he can conveniently find a way to wind up with like Bronny at some point in time. I really feel that. And my homie, man, shout out to my homie at White Dion on Twitter, man. He's been telling me this for like the last like 5 or 6 years, and it's been a joke.
I think it's a power play to get Kyrie.
Bronny and LeBron are gonna wind up on the Pistons. And I've just been like, yeah, ha 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 ha. LeBron's gonna be retired, blah blah blah.
We don't have our pick next year, Kool-Aid.
Yeah, hey, just keep talking me up, bro, because I've been feeling really down about this, man. Like, oh my goodness, no, man. If that happened, that'd be crazy. But Jalen, I got to get your thoughts in on this, kind of on the coaching, before we head over to Steve, Mr. Unload.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
So first off, I'm an advocate for Kevin Ali. I'm an advocate for him. I think I said it a couple of episodes ago. I was cool with him. We talked about his college run and the overtime elite concerns that everyone else had and things of that nature. So I'm not opposed to him being there. It's just, his lack of NBA coaching experience, let alone, everything else, because he played in the league for a long time. So I'm not opposed to him being our coach. But the playoff coaches getting fired kind of did mess it up a little bit. I kind of knew that if Philly lost, though, like no bias here, I knew that Doc was going to be gone.
For what?
Yes. Well,
the fact that he might get the Suns job, by the way, that's a whole other can of worms.
So that happening.
Too bad for the Suns.
So with that happening, it's kind of like Monty. I don't know. I don't think he didn't want to coach us, but if he was to take a job this season at some point, which I doubt he would, I'd be a little kind of not upset, but kind of disappointed, because I heard from rumors it's nothing set in stone about what the offer was or whatever the case may be. And I know he does want to go home to his family and everything, but I would just hope he doesn't accept the job this year after we tried to offer him a role. But I'm content.
I just think if he would, I think we would be hearing his name being brought up in the Bucks finalist list. We would be hearing him in a little bit more in the 76ers kind of conversations, and his name has been pretty absent from a lot of those reports.
I think he's truly gonna take the year off. It didn't make sense. I mean, he kind of got did dirty. So I think he got did dirty because they kind of traded his whole team away, and then they expected him to figure that out. But if he does stay home, I'm happy for him. Maybe Doc will come here. Who knows? You never know.
And you know what? Like I said, it's when you look at the landscape of the NBA, where is it going? I have no idea. You have stars that are aging. You have stars that we thought were going to be stars that are not. Like, where the heck is Ben Simmons? Like, the whole landscape of the NBA is crazy to me right now. When I'm just looking at it, I'm just like, what's what in the next 2 to 3 years? I can't map this. And if I'm a coach, am I trying to find myself back in the same situation as Monty Williams, fired after a couple years and got 3 years left? Because who else is going to hire me after that? You see what I'm saying? So for me personally, if I'm Monty Williams at this juncture in the NBA, it especially with what's happening in personal life, I'm probably just chilling. If he does take a job, it almost seems like it'll be one of those kind of Larry Brown type. They just continue to woo. The championship was almost ready made. They came in and got you kind of like halfway through the season, and it was just perfect for you. I could see something like that, but I feel like it would have to almost be perfect just based on like what we're hearing, like reports and things like that. So, not that I know anything personally, but just from the beginning of hearing his name being, let go, it's almost as if maybe he maybe him and the Suns had some conversation. Maybe they had some conversation and people kind of knew what the deal was. So, I don't know. With these other, I'm gonna let Steve go before we get into these other candidates. So,
all right, number one, like I said on the Keep It Real stream that Kool-Aid and I did, I understand the Kevin Ollie frustration when you look at the resumes. This is as somebody speaking who's been on hiring committees. You look at the resume, the first thing you want to know is, do they have the requisite experience? Do they have the experience that matches up with the job that I posted for? Kevin Ollie does not have that requisite experience. So that's why I think he's always been the number 3. These other guys have been in the league for a long time, coaching on an NBA coaching staff. This is not how people are wording it, but that's why I think the majority of people are underwhelmed by Kevin Ollie. Because again, when you look just at the resumes, he's the one that is, I don't want to say unqualified, because like y'all said, he was an NBA player for a long time. But think about it. If you're hiring somebody and you're like, you need to work in this same exact position for X amount of years, then Kevin Ollie doesn't have that on his resume as well. Number 2, the Jake Fisher from Bleacher Report that I saw said that Charles Lee and Kevin Ollie went back for another interview with the Pistons, that Duren Collins was not scheduled for another one. That does not mean that he's out of the running. It was reported by our guy here, Kool-Aid, that Duren Collins was the person that kind of wowed the front office, that they seem to be the most impressed with. What this might be is like, okay, we think all 3 of these guys are qualified, or there's like 3 different voices in the front office saying like, hey, this is my guy, this is my guy. And they already kind of agree on Duren Collins. And they're like, let's give these other 2 guys another chance to come in here and see if they can like separate or do something else. That could be what it is. It doesn't mean Duren Collins is out of the running. It might just mean that he's the front runner right now, and these other 2 need to do something else. The most important thing and the most concerning part of it to me, who is doing this hiring? Terry Foster said it today on Woodward Pistons. Like you talked about it. He said there's some old heads in the front office that didn't want the Kevin Ollie hiring. And the reports that I kept seeing were like, Tom Gores needs these coaches to fly out to LA, or Tom Gores wasn't wowed by these coaches. That to me is the most concerning part of it, because if you're an owner and you're going to consistently interject yourself just intermittently like this, that's going to mess everything up. If you don't have faith in Troy Weaver to hire a head coach, fire him, right? Like if you're not going to let him do what he's paid to do, why did you hire him in the first place? This screams to me of somebody like Ted Leonsis of the Wizards, who does this all the time. It also screams to me of Vivek Ranadive, who did this consistently for the Kings, where it's like he got in the draft picks, same with Leonsis. He got in the front office stuff. Like you can't do this. You either just push yourself all the way in there like a Jerry Jones, even though there's problems there, but at least he's upfront about it. Or you stand back like somebody like a Steve Ballmer, who's basically just like a glorified cheerleader for the Clippers, right? He's like, okay, I'll throw out the money for all these things, but I'm not going to tell Jerry West what to do because he's Jerry West. Or like the Miami Heat owners. Does anybody even know who owns the Heat? Of course they don't, because it's Pat Riley. Pat Riley's Pat Riley. You don't tell Pat Riley what to do. So that's just my biggest concern about this whole thing, is who is doing this hiring?
I get that. That's valid. So here's my quick thing on the Jake Fisher reporting. I think people took a sentence from his report and they took a sentence and they made it an essay. They made it scripture. You know what I mean? And as far as, I think Tom Gore's not reportedly not being wowed. I think that can be taken a lot of different, directions. That kind of the thing that I kind of was theorizing is they might really like these candidates that they have, but when push comes to shove, that doesn't mean they don't want to go for Monty Williams if given the chance. I do agree though, Steve, in the sense that, with Tom Gore, when we have been seeing success and when we have been seeing tangible growth in this organization has been when Tom has allowed the basketball people to make the basketball decisions. And he's brought in a lot of really smart people. Arn Tellem, Troy Weaver, Dwayne Casey's in the office, John Beeline's part of player development. And Wallace is in the front office. Like they have a wealth of people in the organization. And to your point, like, as far as what those owners meetings look like, I have no idea. Troy
Yeah.
could be there too. I don't know if it's like a one-on-one thing. The reality of it is, though, I think, as much as we don't want, like Tom to make like the ultimate decision, he does have to sign off to a certain extent if he is going to make a significant investment, especially on a younger coach. So I can understand it from that sense, but I do agree with Steve in the concern of let your basketball people make basketball decisions.
Yeah, and if I could just say one more thing too, the big thing for me is with the Monty Williams thing.
Yeah.
That's okay. Like to go pursue him, fine. But you have to be able to tell the guys that you've been interviewing for weeks now, if they didn't tell them and weren't honest and upfront with them, and the first time that they're hearing about like, oh, the team wasn't wowed by them, and now they're interviewing Monty Williams, that the first time they're hearing that is in the media, that's terrible, right? Like, how can you build up trust with somebody when like the first time you're hearing like, oh, I didn't impress you in the interview is through the media and not face to face with your future employer? I hope that's not the case, but it's just me like again then thinking the longer this goes on, the more these kinds of thoughts will interject.
Well, what I heard was that not that they weren't impressed by people, but that they were impressed by all the candidates. What I actually heard was that Jaren Collins is the one that actually interviewed the best. And so those are the actual, most pointed things that I could probably add to the discussion, just so it's as cleanly reported as we know. I don't know what went on in the room.
Yeah.
And I know this. If I'm going to conduct an interview, I know these people are going to be both in Detroit and hey, bring them out to California too. Do it all. You know why? Because the one thing we say is, why would you go to Detroit? Well, because when you come to Detroit, you have access to everything. Do you know what Tom Gores does in terms of like the movie financing and all of that? This, you got to understand. When you want to be able to sell the Pistons, you better take him to Mr. Gores. We want him to actually be like, you know what? I want to know who these people are, because they preach themselves as an organization, as a family. And they're preaching themselves now more and more as a program that's going to be more interconnected with the way that they kind of do things as a basketball team. And not that Troy Weaver is not able to make decisions, but the way I was hurt, I kind of got it was that they were like, are you sure that Kevin Ollie is your guy? Because based on the way that basketball things go, most people would say, hey, wouldn't it be Jaren or Charles Lee? That's what Gores supposedly, and Gores is trying to throw the bag of Monty. If he's the one trying to make the hire and those are the decisions he's made as an owner, he's grown. And if he's ultimately stating, Troy, if you believe though that Kevin Ollie can be the next Eric Spoelstra, we're going to believe you. That's kind of that's kind of the gist that I'm getting in terms of how the organization is doing it. So they're not going to be shy in terms of letting their GM know probably their thoughts, but that they're going to back up and go with what their GM says, or else why pay him, like you said, Steve. And I'm glad that you said that, because we want our organization kind of held appropriately to responsibility. Like I agree with that. Make sure that they are going out there and crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's. I get that.
Yeah,
and
and
what I
last
would
thing,
say
like
as well,
it's just
too,
the
really
longer
quickly-
this hiring process goes on,
Oh, go ahead,
it's just
Steve. Go ahead.
like
I'm
makes
sorry.
us frustrated, right?
Say that one more time, brother.
Oh, I just said then the last thing is just the longer this hiring process goes on, the more frustrated we as a fan base are, right?
It might be, but they stated this from the beginning.
we just want to know.
Yeah, right from the beginning, Weaver stated, sitting there in the exit interviews, he was like, look, we have some people we're going to interview, but we're going to take our time with this. And they were like, do you have to get somebody before the draft? No. Do you got to get somebody after the draft? No. Do you got to get somebody before the draft lottery? Nope. We're going to get the coach when the coach is right. And if that coach has an issue with our process, he's not for us. And that's kind of how Weaver put it. He stated, we want to interview some of the coaches that may be in the playoffs too. And these are things that he stated early on. So it's like, I'm not necessarily surprised at the approach that they're taking. I like the fact that they identified their favorites early on in terms of who was available. That's something that we kind of missed. So a lot of people missed nuancically in the reporting. It wasn't these are the three finalists. It was these are the three favorites of the available candidates right now. And that Troy Weaver and his organization, since this is an absolute restore, we're not just trying to put the car together so it runs. We've seen the Pistons do that, and they got swept the last 3 times they did that. swept, and it was embarrassing, and it was nothing to build on. And those draft picks are gone after like a few years. We ain't trying to do that. With a restore, bro, you have to get the right piece. And if Troy got his eye on a piece right now, whenever that man sits, how long do we say, oh, he ain't trade Jeremy Grant? He ain't trade Christian Wood. And then how did those situations wind up? Like people thought if a deal's gonna be made, it's got to be made at the deadline, or else it's gonna wind up like the Andre Drummond situation. Not with Troy Weaver. So that's why I'm just like, look, until Troy Weaver proves to me that his silence means he's not doing anything and doesn't know what he means, doesn't know what he's doing, I have to take that his silence means something crazy is about to happen. It's happened every time. Jalen Duren is crazy. Bojan Bogdanovic was crazy. Jeremy Grant trade in was crazy. Jeremy Grant trade out was crazy. Sadiq Bey was crazy. Isaiah Stewart was crazy. All these were crazy, man. Like, so that's just me. Like, based on the track record, based on the track record, I'm just like, all right, let the man cook a little bit and see where things kind of wind up.
And here's what I'll say about Jake Fisher really quickly. Unless it's from Woj, Shams, or any of the local beat, with peace and love to Jake Fisher, take it with a grain of salt, because Jake Fisher is a senior NBA reporter. His job is to report on all 30 teams, the tea leaves behind the scenes. His job is to report what he hears. And even though, like, yes, to a certain extent, like beat reporters do that as well, they vet a little more in depth. They go way more in, they dive in more. They have closer relationships within the organization. So when it's said by a beat reporter, there's a little more weight behind it. And so, like with Jake Fisher, I'm not questioning his sources. I'm not questioning, his ability as a journalist. I'm just saying he's way more willing to pull the trigger than some other guys.
So y'all know how Sean's best friend is Troy Weaver? Sean's worst friend is Fisher.
My golfing buddy.
It's Jake Fisher, man. Jake Fisher is like your enemy, man. This is like the third time you've come on here now to a Jake Fisher report, and it's just been like, we're not taking this serious. Every single time, man, and I love it.
Like, because none of them have been true. They've all been false.
But this one's been reported by multiple people.
I think that sometimes it's easy to kind of rile on the Pistons because they are so quiet. They're an organization where not a lot of things leak out. And so you kind of just try and pull on little things that you might hear, or things that, or other I've heard from other people close to the Pistons that there are other organizations that'll go out there and start to litter and filter things into the media just to either try and force the Pistons' hands. But Troy Weaver, I heard, he literally just does not care. He's not forced into anything. He's not pushed into anything. He literally is like, bro, I'm just doing this at my own pace. I think that's what frustrates people the most. Not that the coaching search is taking so long, but that throughout this whole process, Troy is just doing things at his own pace, in his own way. And it's something we have not ever seen here in Detroit. We've never seen this. You think about all of the GMs we've had, man. Going back, we've had to go all the way back to Trader Jack. And, we talked about this, Steve. There's no GM that's done this, what he's doing. Like, it's awesome. Quite honestly. Now, it'd be amazing if it translates to wins. And that's what makes this offseason so pivotal, man. So pivotal. We continue to say it. This offseason is going to be one of the It is with the injury to Cade and with things getting off to a rough start this season, it's pushing them up against the wall, man. Like, they needed Jaden Ivey, they needed Jalen Duren to take the steps forward, and kind of with that, it kind of brings up this thing I wanted to ask you guys with the 5th pick. What does Troy Weaver need to do with that pick to kind of in this pivotal offseason continue to make sure he's moving in the right direction? And I know, Steve, you referenced the pod with Terry. He believes that we should trade that pick. I believe that there's talent at the 5th. He believes that we need to trade that pick to honestly get a vet. I thought if we traded, I thought he was going to say to get multiple shots in the first round. Because of Steve here, I like the players in this draft. So, but Steve, Sean, I'm going to let you talk first and then we got to let Steve talk, bro. What are y'all feeling about this, man? Because I like Jarris Walker. I like Asar Thompson. Steve has gotten me sold. But Sean, dog, talk to me, bro. Talk to me.
I was just making the joke. Steve's like, no, my big board. I all this work I've done. No, but no. In all seriousness, like you and I talked a little bit on the pod that we did today. That's gonna be put on YouTube tonight. By the way, that there are some players that if we were indeed to like specifically like an RJ Barrett type of a young guy who can produce now but still has a bit of a future and a ceiling and upside, right? Like that's like if we were to do it, it would have to be a guy that I know has a higher ceiling than these guys at the 5th pick. Having said that, and like Steve can probably touch on this way more than I can because I'm still learning more about this class, but the Pistons can get a freaking awesome player at 5. Like Jarris Walker is like everything a Detroit Piston. Like he's like, if you go in the dictionary and look up Detroit Piston, they just have a picture of Jarris Walker. And then like Cam Whitmore is another like fascinating prospect as well. And then you throw out, Asir Thompson, which I know like a lot of people in the Pistons fan base are falling in love with. Like there is a wealth of talent at 5. It's not Wemby. It's not a generational talent, but you know what it can be? Really damn nice alongside Cade and Ivy.
Steve, brother, how you feeling about this?
Yeah, I love Terry, but no. Like if they traded for a vet, like no. I mean, it would have to be somebody like Anthony Edwards, in my opinion. It would have to be somebody like that to where, like,
he's
they're
untouchable.
They're gonna grow with Cade. They're already like really high level. Because beyond that, what are we talking about? Like Pascal Siakam, who's going to be an unrestricted free agent next offseason, or like OG Anunoby, who's also going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. I just don't think there's a player that like you could throw the 5th pick at. And like you said, the 5th pick is very valuable. To me, there are 7 names in contention for the number 5 overall pick. We'll be previewing them further on down the line. There are dark horses at the end. But really, you asked like, what can Weaver do with the 5th pick? I think for real, if he just drafted one of Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, or Asar Thompson, that's a good start to it, right? Because those 3 all have the potential and all have those things. Defense, Cam has the explosive versatility as a scorer. Asar is a great athlete, great lob threat. Another guy Cade can throw lobs to. And Jarris, I keep saying he's somewhere between OG Anunoby and Bam Adebayo because he does have the passing of Bam. He's got the 7'2.5" wingspan. He's 240 pounds. He moves like OG Anunoby, who weirdly played the shooting guard position this year. Like maybe he's not going to be like the level of scorer that Cam or even Asar could be, but Bam Adebayo, there's a reason why the Heat consistently surprise in the playoffs. One of them's Jimmy Butler. The other one's Bam Adebayo. Jimmy talks, Bam doesn't. But they're the foundation of the team. And I like I said, one of my fantasies is triple beef. With Ivy, Cade, Jarris, Beef Stew, Jalen Duren. Jam Hines on the most recent draft show said that Jarris Walker is the guy that you can say, go guard LeBron, go guard Kawhi. That's the kind of defensive ability this man has. And that is super rare to find.
Dude,
for me, the top thing is always shot creators.
Since this guy.
The top one is shot creators of like what you're looking for in the top draft picks, guys that can get their own shot and create shots for others. After that is guys that can eliminate or at least frustrate the top guys on defense. And Jarris is definitely that.
And
Sean, after you say whatever you say, can you please read this comment on screen?
Oh, absolutely. I'm going to read it right now. Draft a wing, trade for a wing. Hell, go to B-Dubs and get a wing. I don't care what you got to do. Get some wings, damn it. But in all seriousness, am I the only one that doesn't just marvel at the potential of being able to put in a Cade, Jeremy Grant, Jarris Walker, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren lineup? Like, am I the only one that notices
one more time.
Cade Cunningham, Jeremy Grant, Jarris Walker, Isaiah Stewart, Jalen Duren? Like the ability to go big, to go positionless, to be able to have length and versatility all across the court. Like, and again, all reports suggest like, and again, this is something cool. Like I brought up on from F Court earlier today as well. What is something that's slipping under the radar? Portland got the 3rd pick and reportedly want to use it to go get an elite wing. If they indeed do that, what does that mean for Jeremy Grant? I'm just saying.
Look, the Pistons
The
got the
road
bread.
for him coming back is getting wider and wider.
Who would you overpay this offseason? Like, seriously, who would you want to throw cash at? Would it be Draymond or would it be a Jeremy Grant? You know what I mean? Think about, or would it be a Grant Williams? Think about who's all out there, man. The Pistons are going to chew up some of their capital with getting some of their own players back, and they're going to have just enough cap space to splash out on one kind of Jeremy Grant size player, in my opinion.
I would overpay for Jeremy Grant or Cam Johnson. Those are the two.
I like those two.
If I were to
No.
Steve.
Next offseason, Jaden McDaniels. That's the exact player that this team needs. And they can offer him a max, and Minnesota's probably not going to match it because they also have to sign Ant-Man. They also have Rudy on the books. They have Cat on the books. They can't pay all 4 of them.
I believe Yudi Watanabe is an unrestricted free agent as well. Is that a guy you'd like going after, Steve?
Yeah, for sure. I'm just of the mindset that this free agent class is so like limited with that kind of a player, and next season is better than that. I think it's better to like hit a couple singles or double rather than try and get the home run this year. Because even Cam Johnson, like he would work spacing wise, but they need defense more than anything else, I think, and that's where Cam Johnson isn't quite as good.
And that's where, and like for me, like with like the Cam Whitmore versus Jarris Walker debate, like for me, Jarris Walker just takes it with his ability on the defensive end. Like they both are about a 36%, from 3 shooter. Obviously, Whitmore on a higher volume. Whitmore does have that athletic ceiling, but to me, the question marks on the defensive side of the ball, like especially like coming in, trying to take a step next year, like doing it right now, that step has to be made on the defensive end. So in my opinion, if we can get someone who has that ingrained in their identity, like, man, Jarris Walker's like a guy that's like, he's going to be a hell of an NBA player. He just is.
What's good, Jalen?
Do you guys, so I don't know if you guys have been on Twitter lately, but I've been seeing a lot of like Sarah Thompson. Like they were saying like he has the potential. I don't know if you've seen that, Steve, like to have like a shot creator aspect of his game. I've been seeing that a lot. Jarris Walker is the best defender out the 3, no question, I believe. So Cam Whitmore is probably the most fun to watch, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Out of the 3.
He's the sexy pick.
Yeah, the slashing
Him and Osir
wing,
are the sexy picks, in my opinion.
100%. But I do think, I said I wanted Cam, but he may be going to number 4. But I think the overall best pick out the 3 is probably Jarris Walker. Even though I do want Cam, I feel like he's the best, and his offensive game can just flow in, with everybody else around. But defensively, like, I've seen him at Houston. He can guard 1 through 5. He's gonna go for it. Cam, he's a slasher, so like I said, it's fun to watch. But I think Jarris Walker would probably be the most efficient pick out the 3. And the other guy from UCF, I like him too. Taylor Hendricks, so I'm a fan of him. But if not him, I think Jarris Walker may be the best option at 5. No bias for me.
I agree with you there. And we talked about that earlier, Sean and Steve. When we first, because there's content we're about to start dropping that we kind of almost everybody that's going to be available for the Pistons is the content that we pre-recorded. It's Asar, it's Cam, it's Taylor, it's these people. We're going to start dropping it. And who did I tell you? I was like, bro, Jarris Walker, that's the one. At first, I thought it was Asar. And we were like, you know what? I like Asar better than Amin. And at the time, Amin was getting the hype. Now we see Asar getting the hype. My boy Steve knows what he's talking about. I'm so serious. Jarris Walker was the person that when we went through everything and he talked to me about all these players, I was like, bro, that's the one. I was like, bro, if we don't get Wemby, I get the Scoot and the Miller hype. And I guess you got to pick those guys if you land there. But I said, I just really like Jarris Walker. We saw the Pistons swap out their 3, right? Their 3-and-D wing for a kind of high volume elite 3-point shooter. And that had such a negative effect on the team. To be able to add somebody back that can defend the same positions that Jeremy Grant successfully defended here would be awesome, because we have not had that before him or after him. We haven't had that. I don't know the last time, but we have to go back to Tayshaun. Tayshaun Prince, since we had a person that could successfully defend that position? Like, am I disrespecting anybody in between?
I don't think so.
Steve is
My-
like,
So Steve, with Osir Thompson, because he's a guy that I'm seeing the comments bringing him up quite a bit as well. My hesitation, because it seems like he has a lot of the tools to be an all-star. First of all, his brother, him and his brother's jump shots are the equivalent of hot dog water, so that's got to change.
No. Let me cut that off though. Amen's is like below the ground, 6 feet under. You have to build up the dirt below the foundation of the house. Whereas Asar's is like, okay, the foundation is there, but the house is not.
Right, but it's still like one's just straight up like hot dog juice that's been sitting there for like fermenting for a week. The other's just straight out the pot. But in all seriousness, like I think the reason why with Osir Thompson that I get hesitant, even though he does have great playmaking and shot creation tools. He is an athletic player. To me, what makes Jarris Walker so tantalizing is his lack of need with the ball in his hands to still be productive. As great as a guy like Osir Thompson can be, there is something to be said about being able to have guys in your lineup that don't need the ball in their hands in order to be effective. And as much as Osir is a guy who I think is going to be a really good NBA player at the minimum, I just question how much he's going to be able to do day one without the ball in his hands.
it's gonna be interesting with him because I feel like he's shown that at the NBA level, if he puts the work in, that he can develop a shot. It's kind of like that Jaden Ivey thing.
Mhm.
I believe he has the tools, but Steve, I saw you take your mute off, man. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's all three of the guys that I said, Cam, Asar, Jarris, they all have super high level potential. But it just depends on what the Pistons think about Cade and Ivy. And I'm of the mindset that Cade and Ivy are going to be number one and number two for the foreseeable future. Like, even if one of them gets traded, God forbid, the next 3 or 4 years are going to be all about Cade and Ivy, right? Asar is the one that I think is the hardest fit when you're saying, okay, Cade and Ivy are going to be the number 1 and 2 because Asar needs those reps. He needs to immediately have a little bit more of a jump shot than what he has now to help out Cade and Ivy. Even Jarris, who's like a quote unquote questionable shooter. Bryce, shout out again to Bryce Simon, Motor City Hoops. Go follow him. He showed like a little bit of the footwork breakdown of Jarris at the line versus Jarris on catch and shoot. And his footwork on the catch and shoot is actually okay. And also he has more of these like short roll abilities. And again, Asar is a good defender, but that isn't as easily projectable as somebody like Jarris, who against the OTE guys, Asar is okay. He's still a little bit upright, doesn't have the like 5 position abilities of it. So I think that's where Asar, like if the team wasn't quite sold as like Cade being number 1, Ivy being number 2, I think Asar enters more into the conversation because he does have like there's more things. Once he gets a jump shot, then the ability to attack the rack, his little hook shot, the Xavier Simpson hook shot for my U of M alum fans out there. He has that in his bag there, along with being able to probably guard like the wing and maybe in the power forward, depending on how strong his lower body is. And Cam Whitmore is the easiest fit. Like if that was the mandate of like, okay, who fits immediately into this roster, it's Cam. He shoots really well. He shot 37.3% down the last 18 games of the season. It got better as he went along, and especially in conference play, when like teams have a bunch of tape on you, they know what you want to do and try and take it away. When those things improve, that's great. Villanova, I believe, was 2-6 without Cam Whitmore, and they were 15-11 with him in the lineup. That's the kind of impact he has. He also is a good man-to-man defender. He's not quite the defensive savant that Jarris is, both on ball and off ball. That's what separates the two of them. And he doesn't have the big wingspan of either an Asar or of a Jarris. Cam has
no, he's not like Sadiq Bey. Stop saying he's like Sadiq Bey.
Yeah.
Just because they played at the same college does not mean they're the same player. Stop.
Cam Whitmore can jump over Sadiq Bey right now.
Just say that again, Steve.
Cam Whitmore can jump over Sadiq Bey right now. Just go Google right now, Cam Whitmore vertical, and like you will be amazed. Yeah. He will eliminate people at the rim. I mean, I'm looking at his shot chart right now. He shot 72.3% on 94 shots at the rim. That's like center numbers.
And with respect to Sadiq, His game's closer to the ground.
His hot shots.
What's up, Jalen?
Hey, Steve, I had a question though. I kept seeing it I was doing some research too a couple of days ago. How do you feel about as an Anthony Black? Is that the dude from Arkansas? Is that where
Yeah.
he's from?
Oh man, if he had a jumper, he would be right in there too.
Because like I keep seeing him, like I was watching his games, like everything else is there. He's scrappy, hustler, but he can't shoot. So like, how do you feel about him moving on up the draft board if like we looked at him by chance?
Honestly, if he went at 5, I wouldn't be mad at it, because to give you an example of this, last summer, the FIBA U19 America's Cup, there was a team that had Cam Whitmore, who won like the MVP of it. It had Khalil Ware, Gigi Jackson was on it. It had these bigs. Anthony Black was the leading rebounder, and he was also the leading shot blocker on that team. That's the level of defense that he has and the level of like physicality. He's also one of 2 players that I've profiled that have over 60% free throw attempt rate. I honestly, like, I'm almost kind of the mindset that I don't even know if he really needs a 3-point shot to be as effective. Because if you have an over 60% free throw attempt rate as a guard, like, that's rarefied air. So again, I wouldn't be mad at it, because he definitely fills in every single crack on defense. He can't guard 4s and 5s like a Jarris, but he has everything else. And I'm somebody that also believes like shooting is one of the more easier skills to teach. Like New Orleans, San Antonio, Oklahoma City have shown that. You just got to find the right coach. Bayland might be the right coach. He's helped out the guys here a little bit more, but that's yet to be seen.
Yeah. Look, this on the screen down here, whoever we get at 5, it must be someone who will contribute and start day 1. That's kind of where my thinking is too. And Steve, I've been saying it. You've been saying it. I've heard Sean say it and others. If we didn't have Cade and Ivy, then things would be a lot different. That missing out on that number 1 pick would be a lot more crucial. But since you do have a Cade and Ivy, it is what it was always going to be, even if you got Wemby, an augmentation. Wemby definitely is like an accelerant on fire. But this thing was always going to be about what Cade was going to do as the straw that stirs his drink, man. And so you're still looking at being able to augment what you have around this young talent that you have to have pan out. They've been saying that they have to depend on internal growth. When we looked at other teams from the outside in, we saw their top and their lottery picks pan out. And that their lottery picks are the ones that are leading their squads. We have to have Cade. We have to have Ivy. We have to have Duren. We have to have these guys be the ones that this restoration is going to be built on. I know it's like nervous. We're scared here to believe in any of our draft picks. You hear people already comparing people we haven't even picked yet to Stanley Johnson. That's how scared we are of our draft picks. We are afraid to believe in Cade Cunningham. That's what I've recognized. That man can go out and have a great game, and we're still like, ooh.
We can be as confident and see all the things he does and he's the real deal, but just because of how burned we've been in the past, we just expect him to somehow turn into a bust.
Yep. And so for me, this thinking out here, shout out to Impeller of Horizons, it's kind of what has me really geared towards Jarris Walker. I think it gives us another player that kind of has that dog that I'm seeing in Stewart, that I'm seeing in Duren. Duren's is a little less excited as Stewart's, but it's there. I started seeing he's a menace, he's a pest, and I like it. And Jarris Walker, that ability to guard the 1 through the 5, because we saw Duren also be able to guard on the perimeter too. Yes, do you understand the types of lineups you can throw out there when you add a player like him versus the other guys? I really like Cam Whitmore and his offense. But in terms of what I see Jarris Walker being able to do on the defensive end, as well as what he can do shooting, out of all the prospects that we may have a shot at, unless Brandon Miller so happens to fall to 5, it ain't happening. It's not happening. I keep trying to will it, man, but let me just stop that.
That's Brandon Miller is not falling to 5, but I think there might be a possibility where we see a situation like last year where we actually get 2 of these guys that we're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just have a feeling it might be a possibility.
Which 2 would you want though, Carl? If you could pick 2, which 2 would you want?
That's a great question, Jalen.
But anybody can answer.
I don't know if we'll get like a 5 and a 6. I think we'll be, because I just don't know as far as giving up, like what assets we have to give up or what we're willing to give up. But If I had my way, it would be Jarris Walker and Cam Whitmore.
That'd be a real sticky situation.
You'd have to get the 5th and 6th pick to do that.
Yeah,
Like,
no, that's what I mean. I don't think it's
Yeah.
I don't think it's possible. If I had my way, that's what it would be.
I could maybe see like a Walker or Whitmore combined with like an Anthony Black, maybe,
Yeah.
or like someone like who like kind of slips down, a little bit farther in the lottery projections. I think, I think ultimately it's going to be tricky to get multiple first round picks, but it's also kind of the balance of as much talent as there is in this draft, and as much as Troy loves to get multiple first round picks. I wonder if they want to keep bringing in young players, or if they want to start bringing in some older players as well. That's my question.
Well, I think if they did get another pick, like I said, my list of 7, even for number 5, is Jarris, Cam, Asar, Taylor Hendricks, Gigi Jackson, Anthony Black, and then Grady Dick. I think Gigi Jackson, Grady Dick, maybe Asar falls too. Maybe because there have been reports already of those teams and some anonymous scout, the AKA cowards, who were like, "Oh, I'm not buying into Amen and Asar because of the competition level." It's like, okay, I guess you didn't buy into Kevin Garnett and Kobe Bryant and T-Mac, all those guys that came out of high school, because they probably played against worse competition, right? Maybe the teams right after the Pistons are those scouts that don't buy into that Asar does end up falling like that. So who knows? And again, Grady Dick, he's somebody that you just can't hate on. Like if you watch his game, team defense is really good. I think he's the best shooter in this class. Can get it off in a variety of ways. And even Gigi Jackson, who I lobby for so much. I love Gigi Jackson. He played for the absolute worst team in NCAA Division I basketball in South Carolina. That tape was like pulling my eyeballs out. But man, at 6'9" with a 6'11.5" wingspan, has shot creation ability, looks a lot like Jeremy Grant on offense. That's somebody I would invest in a lot. And if you've listened to Rafael Barlow's NBA Big Board podcast, he's talked a lot about his character, that he has, number one, a small circle. It's only his trainer, his manager, his father. That's like his quote unquote entourage. I buy into those type of players as well. And I did a lot of background info actually on Gigi in the preseason. And the thing that he consistently said in interviews is like, I'm the little brother here. I realize that like these guys are older. They're trying to teach me. I'm not just kicking the door down and demanding usage. That to me screams like, wow, super self-aware for a 17-year-old kid to come in here and be able to know, like, I'm not just going to take over, and that's not how this works.
I could see, to this comment, I could see some form of bullion for Bertans and a pick type of action, but in all honesty, I don't really want to take a salary dump. And if we're going to give up bullion, sure, like the 10th pick could be good, but I would not want to take on a Davis Bertans, and you'd probably have to take on some of their salary to do that, and that would probably be the one.
Yeah, and they have to bring in probably 1 or 2 more, veteran voices. You can't chew up your salary cap, you know what I'm saying, with a salary dump like that. But I wanted to be able to get to Jalen Duren. I think I'm going to save it for either a special stream or next Thursday. We got to cut this one a little bit short, but it was great conversation. I think that the topics that we did get through, I think we fleshed them out pretty well. I know that this 5th pick, this is something we're going to continue to talk about. I think we're all in the camp of keep that pick. Now it's just a matter of what is that right pick. Look, I need you all put in the comments, not necessarily in the live chats, but in the comments, put who you want. You know what I mean? For that 5th pick. If it's Cam Whitmore, if it's Jarris Walker, if it's Taylor Hendricks, if it's Anthony Black, who are we not thinking about? Put it there so that we can definitely go and make sure we can get you guys the best content on these players as well. And as well as your coaching update, man. It's coming down to Kevin Ollie, Charles Lee, or some mystery coach that's out there right now. We don't know. Definitely put out there in the comments who you are, who's your favorite. But Ashan, any last words, brother?
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for all the kind words and birthday wishes today. Just insanely grateful for the community and for everyone here. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I mean, it's going to be an exciting few weeks, man. I mean, lots of things going down. We have the draft. We more than likely have a coach that we're hiring within the next couple of weeks. I think, especially with the Monty Williams situation kind of, having clarity. I think we're close to getting a coach named. But I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Be sure and like this video, subscribe to the channel, but also follow each and every one on the crew and follow and check out all the work that they're doing. Steve at Resball Pod. Be sure you subscribe to Woodward Pistons so you're not missing all the draft content that he has coming up with some great guests and incredible deep dives on some of these players. Be sure you go check out Jalen at Jalen HTV. And Jalen, one more time, what's the name of your channel?
Yo, it's Jalen HTV on YouTube and everything, and just type in CEO's office hours, and it'll be the first video that you see on my page. Thank you, sir. Thank
Absolutely.
You, birthday guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And Carl Collins Productions, Mr. Star down there himself. Be sure you're following Carl and everything that he's doing, all the awesome edits he's going to have coming up this off season. It's going to be the most hype Jarris Walker hype video of all time. But you're muted, Carl.
Cam Whitmore, I said.
Oh, Cam Whitmore. There you go.
Ooh.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being the fifth or the sixth member of the table. We'll catch you guys next week for another edition of Woodward Pistons Table Talk. See ya.
Definitely. Hey, hold on, man. Do we got like a birthday song? Do we like sing happy birthday to Sean on the way out? I'll start it.
No.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Professor John Murphy. Happy birthday to you, dear